Hello, everyone. This is Mangaka Boichi.
Hello, I am the director.
Today's video, it's time for a manga tutorial. I had another planned manga tutorial topic, but Steve is uploading the old questions and answers videos that were filmed. We've conducted questions and answer videos from 2020 to 2023, and there's quite a number of them. I think I filmed around 80 episodes but haven't uploaded them yet. They're videos created from questions asked by aspiring manga artists. Of course, we have Japanese subtitles available, so I'd appreciate it if our Japanese subscribers could also watch them. At the end of the old questions and answer series, had a small gift prepared for aspiring manga artists around the world, but it hasn't been revealed yet. We're planning to continue the old questions and answers videos for the next few months. When it ends, the gift will be revealed. It's not much, but we've prepared a small gift for all of you. So I hope the videos will be uploaded in their entirety. And I felt really sorry and embarrassed when I re-watched the old questions and answers.
What's so embarrassed about?
Of course, upon reviewing every video again, I feel embarrassed. I realized how lacking I was. But what particularly embarrasses me is that my responses to the questions seem too simplistic. For example, in the tutorial video, I thought I would talk about topics like hairstyles for characters and provide detailed answers to the questions. But I missed some important parts. Now, as I watch the videos Steve is uploading, I can't help myself but wonder why I said really have such foolish thoughts back then. That's what crosses my mind. It's like I could have just repeated the same topic in the tutorial video. During the questions and answers, I could have given it my all in answering. I could have spoken differently. It's perfectly fine to revisit the same topic. At that time, I held back thinking, and it's acceptable to emphasize important points multiple times. However, in doing so, this should be addressed in the main lecture, and this should be discussed elsewhere. I realized that I didn't adequately address questions about curiosity, especially when it came to discussing costumes and hairstyles. I felt the content was too lacking. Therefore, in this video, I made a slight adjustment to the original plan to provide additional explanations about costumes and hairstyles. Of course, I can't cover everything about costumes and hairstyles in one video. Nonetheless, I'll do my best to explain as much as possible. So this is how I begin the first tutorial. Today's topic is an extra supplement to the old questions and answers video. We can consider it as supplementary answers about. This is about designing characters' clothes and hairstyles. Yes, clothes and hairstyles are also part of character design. And I believe they account for anywhere from 70% to as much as 99.99% of character design. For example, in a realistic manga style like Senken Rock, in works set in contemporary settings like Senken Rock, the design of the face and body can constitute 50% or more of the character. In other words, it means that the design of the character's clothes constitutes 50%. Let's say, in Senken Rock, Ken wears a black suit with a red tie, and he always dressed like that throughout the story. Then, how much emphasis would you say the costume design holds in the overall work? Anyway, the tie was supposed to be red, but in this figure, it's been altered to blue. Comparing Ken from Senken Rock to Jen from Dr. Stone, the clothes and hairstyle design. The proportion of costumes and character design is bound to be different. Sometimes, clothes and hairstyles can make up most of a character's design, like 90%, while their face and body might only be around 10%. This occurs when the character's face and body design aligns with the genre of the work, the history of the art style, or the trends in that medium. In such cases, costume and hairstyle naturally dominate the character. as diligently following trends eliminates the need for extensive deliberation or research into choices. Moreover, it's common for authors and artists to select the face and body they personally prefer. They choose what they personally like, or what fits their favorite style, without much further thought. So, when it comes to drawing the face and body, it's common for many cases to require this approach. Rather than worrying too much about design, what really matters is how much study and practice one has put in over time. That's my opinion, and I hope you'll keep this in mind. With that premise, we can indeed regard clothes and hairstyle as significant. These are the lists that I want to tell you. If I were to list a few things in order of importance: character's background story, motivation, environment, engineering aspects and data, genre and trends. How much do you training and practice regularly? Style and preferences. Reuse. Of course, there are numerous other factors that are essential and considered in the character design. However, for now, I'll focus to tell you on these 8 aspects. Here, from 1 to 4, lie the most crucial and orthodox ways to design. Moving from 5 to 8, they align more closely with the practical realities required in the field. And as you descend down the list, things become easier. And guess what? Number 8, reuse, stands as the easiest. Isn't reusing ideas or designs the most convenient option? How much easier could it get? If something has already been used and can be reused without any issues, what could be better than that? Where else could you find something easier? Alright, so let me start with the easier things. The truth is, when it comes to studying, it's best to start with orthodox methods. When I pursued my graduate studies to learn about filmmaking, one of the first lessons I received was to study in an orthodox manner. I considered it a profound truth and a valuable teaching, a lesson that remains deeply ingrained in me to this day. I believe that studying in an orthodox manner, beginning with fundamental principles, is essential. However, my goal is to revolutionize the manga market and the toon business at global. Therefore, if we want to train authors quickly as possible to create manga industries in various countries on a large scale, wouldn't it be crucial to focus on methods that yield quick and easy results? So, I start by explaining the easier methods. Let me start with the last one. Number 8, reuse. Well, it is as simple as a word: reuse. Reuse it. It involves things you've created and used in your previous works. Things that haven't been used aren't considered reuse. They're your database, idea notes, or portfolio. Reusing means using elements from your old works in new ones. It's about bringing back ideas and creations you've already worked on. While some might doubt it, reusing is really effective. While some might find it odd or doubtful, but it's very beneficial. It's even better if you keep memories of your old ideas fresh in your mind. Even if your old work was published, if you can use the designs without any legal issues, they become valuable tools for you. They're your own valuable assets. Since they've been used before, they're already tested and reliable. What great valuable assets indeed! You should realize that these are incredibly valuable assets. In the manga field, many immensely popular and well-crafted designs actually stem from the creator's earlier works. Designs that may not have received much attention initially, reusing them provides an opportunity for them to spotlight once again. These are the creator's assets. Again, if there are no contractual issues with the publisher or any, they can be used. As for my own example, I've reused the design of Ken Kitano from Senken Rock quite a lot. Why did I reuse him so much? Because for me, the existence of Senken Rock and Ken Kitano has had a significant impact on my life and spirit. Ken is the character I love and hold dear to me, and his character is ingrained in my soul. Therefore, in my new works, there's always an aspect of the character resembling Ken. If you see a character with a hairstyle and outfit similar to Ken's in my new work, I hope you'll think, this character must be created by BOICHI, thinking of Ken. That's how I'd like you to perceive it. I don't want to choose differently, because the design of Ken is so precious to me, and I absolutely adore the afro hairstyle. In the series Rakia, I made the decision to give the main character an afro hairstyle for the first time. I enjoyed drawing the afro hairstyle in Rakia because I'm a big fan of the manga series called Afro Tanaka. The main character named Hiroshi Tanaka's hairstyle in that series is an afro. I love that series so much, I even tried drawing it myself. And I really enjoyed it. So I've been consistently reusing it. I wanted this character to have an afro hairstyle too. If the character is my favorite, I wanted to maintain the same hairstyle. Because I like it. That is how it goes. Reusing doesn't always mean using the exact same thing. You can tweak the design. The next is genre and trends of the work. The most all designs in this world, around 99.99%, are driven by the need to be commercially viable. Successful designs typically align with prevailing trends and genres, which are fundamental aspects of the design process. This applies to costumes and hairstyles as well, as they are integral parts of design. They follow the stereotypical types of genres. Then there's the medium, or the specific realm. They follow the latest trends in the design world and undergo slight modifications to ensure they sell, whether it's cars, fashion, computers, character design, or background design. All tend to follow similar patterns. While there are exceptions, the majority adhere to trends, and this is typically beneficial. Why? Because it becomes marketable, and consumers like it. Consumers don't usually favor innovation. They don't usually like things that are too ahead of their time. This is often the case. There are moments when sudden innovation is favored, but until that moment comes, consumers don't appreciate innovation. They prefer to follow established genres and trends. And when there's a minor tweak involved, what does that signify? It means advancement. When you advance the stereotypical types of genres, more like evolution, and when you further evolve the latest trends, consumers absolutely adore such designs. And the reason following trends is because it's easier. Is it easy to create something that doesn't exist in this world? Wouldn't it be simpler to research existing trends and refine designs based on what already exists? Undoubtedly, the latter is much easier. And it's also simpler to capture consumers' attention and drive sales.
Indeed, if we consider the market and trends, it appears so.
This story isn't about design. But when George Lucas first wrote the Star Wars, it was an innovative idea that didn't fit the trends of that time. It didn't sell. But eventually, despite facing continuous rejection, it led to a remarkable outcome. It didn't sell. In the end, a legend was born. However, innovative works ahead of their time aren't easy to sell and face continuous rejection. Innovative ideas like this don't always sell well, so following trends in design makes it easier to sell and create without any downside. For example, SENKU's hair. Let me draw SENKU's hairstyle for you. This video focuses on hairstyles for manga, so I'll dedicate some effort to drawing it. And here we have Senku's hairstyle. His hairstyle is the typical look of a shonen hair. Follows the boy's manga character hairstyle. Why did I follow for this typical protagonist style? Well, when I was working on Dr. Stone Chapter 3, Senku was in a supporting character, not the main character. Taiju was in the main role. So I made Taiju's hairstyle unconventional for a main character. For Senku, being a supporting character was given the typical protagonist hairstyle. In essence, I tweaked the character's style. Anyway, he was a supporting character but was given a main character's hairstyle. As for Senku's black hair tips, this was to maintain the overall tone balance and prevent the character from looking entirely colorless. So I added darker shades. This is also a twisted modification. I thought this would improve the character's balance. If I had initially thought Senku was the main character, Senku's hair wouldn't come out like this. Anyway, he was a supporting character but was given a main character's hairstyle. That you need to know is, usually, characters with this hairstyle are physically strong and good fighters. But Senku is below average in terms of physical ability. However, he is a super genius. I assigned a hairstyle that typically represents physical strength to a character recognized for their intelligence. This is the twist. This is about creating such an imbalance. But Senku is the main character. Designing costumes and hairstyles. One approach is to analyze genres and their stereotypical types, and study the trends in modern manga. Study the trends of the medium you want to enter, and contemplate how to adapt and refine them rather than adhering strictly to them. And the beauty of these adaptations are progress. They propose a slightly more evolved approach if you're truly passionate about manga, deeply immersed in it, and how young you are. There's a good chance you're naturally following the trends without consciously realizing it. You're probably doing that in real life. You might argue that you're not aligned with trends, but if you look at your work right now, are you following the manga style of the 1960s? No, I guess not. Or are you following the classic art style of American comics in the 1930s? Or the style of William Hogarth from the 18th century? Of course you don't, right? You can deny it to yourself that you're not. But overall, your design is likely part of the trend. You should study what you're involved in, because it allows for rapid growth. There's no reason to think negatively or reject following trends. Catching up quickly is important. And another way to modify genres and trends is to avoid them. Avoiding them is also ultimately related. There's intertextual relevance. Anyway, there's a way to avoid it. It's deliberately studying the trends and then avoiding them. Senku actually had some of that aspect. Even after becoming the main character, he still had those aspects. He had a shonen hairstyle despite being intellectually focused and physically weak. It's not just following the trend but slightly avoiding it. Next is following a specific artist style. Is that a bad thing? No, it's not a bad thing. It's a good method. Just blindly following isn't always good. But there is a line. There is a line that should not be crossed. To follow a specific artist's style, is it because one wants to hide the original source, relying on others' creativity and imagination to work easily and lazily? Or is it with artistic intent and respect? Depending on the intentions you have, it can turn into an entirely different matter. The first is plagiarism, and the other is homage. One is just imitating, but the other is studying and becoming a disciple. They're completely different. Plagiarism is absolutely unacceptable, but paying homage is a valuable method and one of the skills of creation. Design is the same. For example, I really admire SHIROW MASAMUNE sensei. I love and respect him so much. When I design mechanics or costumes, I always recall his amazing designs. Not just specific designs, but overall. Anyway, images come to mind. So when I design, some parts intentionally follow the image that comes to mind, and some parts intentionally avoid it. Because I love SHIROW MASAMUNE sensei and his designs. On the one hand, I think about designing like a respected artist, but on the other hand, I may distance it because I love it. And this is a method I really enjoy. The next one is the style and preference. It's the easiest way to design, but it's difficult to prepare. It's not changing quickly. When you show your drawing to someone, this is my own art style and preference. There may be people who think they have their own style and preference, even though they've never drawn a drawing or completed one shot. I'm sorry to say this, but that's not just your own asset as style and preference as a mangaka. At present, even though you haven't completed a single short work and haven't drawn much, but claiming to have your own style and preference is like an incomplete adolescent identity, I believe. Who am I? I am what I am. To define yourself like that, it sounds uncomfortable, but, of course, having an adolescent identity isn't a bad thing. It's definitely not a bad thing. It's a stage of growth after all. But as long as you don't overestimate yourself, you don't have to think of it as something to carry with you for a lifetime. For those of you who are around 15 to 16 years old, I think this is right. I'll carry my current thoughts for the rest of my life. If that thought turns out to be right and good for life decisions, it's fine. However, mostly, it's just a passing thought. Because as you grow older, some things you overcome, sometimes you forget, and sometimes you change to something else. That's what we call a journey of growth and life. As you, director raising children, you understand what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I completely understand.
Your style and preferences may exist from the beginning, but they serve as the foundation for your own expressions or identity constructs, rather than fully developed assets as an established author. However, through the process of consistent drawing, studying, and designing, your own style and preferences are discovered and refined. They become invaluable assets in design, and indeed, in all realms of creativity. When you're pondering what design to create, consider your preferences. What style do I have? What are my preferences? What are my favorites? Only after such deep contemplation can we utilize those thoughts for designing. Contemplating the style and preferences is such a wonderful approach in design. It swiftly resolves the problems. It's a wonderful method because it embodies the essence of art, the essence of creation. It's about an individual's thoughts and preferences, what an individual has built through effort, and being applied to design. This is the answer to why humans should create, why we should draw manga, a reason why humans should create works of art. It's because everything about a person is encapsulated in their work. To create, to develop, and build them, and then use them. Regardless of whether it's a male or female character, I enjoy costume designs that accentuate the body shape and lines. I even consider hairstyles based on how well they complement the character's body type. While I appreciate every part of the human body, but I especially love to draw the back. In my 20s, I was very fond of backs, although I'm a bit less so now. I used to think the most beautiful part of the human body is the back. That's how deeply I felt about it. So when designing hairstyles, I wanted to emphasize the back as much as possible. Costume designs that reveal the body shape means, of course, it means I like the costumes that reveal the body and the skin surface. I prefer designs with a lot of exposure, even if clothes are covered. I enjoy designs that suggest the body's shape and emphasize its curves and details. I think the human body is the most beautiful thing in the world. It is truly beautiful. To me, the human body is the source of inspiration for all designs, including clothing. And number 6. So, this method is the easiest one too. All the methods I've mentioned are quite easy. This one's also easy, but still, it's the hardest among the easy methods. It's about training and practicing regularly. Let me talk about how important regular training and practice are. Will influence your design skills going forward. It was during the time when I was serializing both Dr. Stone and Origin. Simultaneously, the time allocated for character design including costume design, mechanics and props design and backgrounds and layouts were typically about 5 minutes. It rarely extended to 10 minutes. And only some take 20 minutes or a little longer. How effective can one be in employing the orthodox design method within those 5 minutes? The characteristic of the orthodox design method is that when you design, you invest time and effort. This easy method is that if you've consistently studied, prepared, and researched during your learning period, designing becomes easier when you work in the field as a professional. Anyway, with both series being serialized weekly at the same time, I didn't have much time to create new designs every time. It's difficult to employ the orthodox method due to time constraints. In order to meet the weekly serialization demands, one must work quickly. The most valuable asset is the accumulated habitual training and practice regularly. How much design work have you done? How many drawings have you practiced? It's crucial to keep track of ideas that emerge during these processes, storing them in your brain, portfolio folder, or computer drive. Remembering and organizing these ideas is essential. Retrieve and utilize what you've saved through extensive training in design and drawing. By cultivating deep thinking, you can swiftly navigate through the current situation. For example, I like flare skirts. I've extensively researched flare skirts and sketched various styles. The reason behind my preference for flare skirts is because they're the most challenging to draw. Additionally, flare skirts offer many interesting details to depict. In my view, drawing flare skirts is more enjoyable than drawing other types. Furthermore, I believe that drawing these flare skirts can bring even more enjoyment to the reader's eyes. In my works, the main character named Rin in Viscera's Voyage wears a flare skirt. Also, Kohaku from Dr. Stone wore a flare skirt in the Treasure Island arc. Kohaku's outfit was a flare skirt for some reason. The edges are not smooth. Her skirt line is not smooth, but pointy. This is how Kohaku's costume design goes. When I design the hair, I draw the two-block style sometimes. I once worked on a bi-weekly series called Toon in Korea in 1997, and I really like to talk about Toon someday. Anyway, in Toon, I first drew the hairstyle as a two-block cut for the main character. At the time in Korea, the two-block style was very popular, so I did a lot of research on the two-block style, combining it with my accumulated training and practice regularly. And when I serialized Sun Ken Rock in 2006, I also gave Ken a two-block hairstyle. I did more my research, practice, and observation. I mentioned that I like the afro hairstyle, right? In my opinion, there are two types of afro hairstyles. The natural afro hairstyle that Africans grow their hair into naturally, and hairstyled called afro hairstyles. However, it's difficult to find information on how Asians look with afro hairstyles. One day, as I was walking down the street, I saw an Asian guy rocking a perfectly rounded afro hairstyle. The sunlight cast a backlight, creating a shadow reminiscent of a 70s disco dancer on the pavement. Intrigued by the design elements of that hairstyle and the backlighting, I really want to talk with that person and take some photos. So, yes, I have indeed observed individuals for the sake of hairstyle design. Anyway, I used the two-block style in Sun Ken Rock. And the main character Haruto in Viscera's Voyage also has a two-block hairstyle. These are examples of how the things I've studied and practiced are put into use. This is the perfect asset of an artist, condensed from the efforts and experiences of life. That's why it's essential to retrieve what I've studied as references from my design portfolio, database, etc., to use in my work. Let me give you another example. In 1993, I announced an SF short story called Love That Universe. To create this one-shot, I practiced styling the long, wavy blonde hair of the female character for a month to draw her hair only. That practice became my lifelong asset. But I haven't used that technique much. Do you know why?
Because there wasn't much chance to use it?
Nope. Drawing that hairstyle was incredibly hard. To tell the truth is, it wasn't just difficult, it was incredibly time-consuming. I had to use 3 screen tone layers for the blonde hair texture. If you use that much screen tone, the manuscript becomes stiff. The paper becomes very stiff. So I don't use that technique often, but it's still a valuable asset of mine. So I've tried these 4 easy methods for today's tutorial video. Next, let's delve into more critical aspects of costume and hairstyle design. Thank you for watching.